Yeah, remember the name, Jas Takhar, best in the game. Mamba mentality in his own lane, so better pay attention to what he be saying. Get the message, ain't no question, giving advice for any investment. Welcome to the broadcast, the Jas Takhar Podcast.
I'm always excited with guests that are on my couch, but I get super excited when they travel for a couple of hours just to get here. And so my man Andrew, I first want to start off with thanking you for making the drive here. Where are you coming in from today?
From Niagara-on-the-Lake.
Nice.
And when I checked the GPS this morning, it said 2 hours to get here. Yeah. I'm like, but it takes me 2 hours to get to Barrie, my hometown. Like, why? And then I checked the GPS. Crash, construction. Yeah. I take the 407. It was the first time in my life I've ever seen the 407 with a red line.
I bring that in. I drive in on 407 every single morning and about 50% of the time going home. And it's generally like green. All you see is green.
Yeah, you're good to go.
How often do you come to Toronto?
Honestly, I hop on a lot of pods, at least once or twice a month. Yeah. Do some speaking down here too.
I wanna dive into a couple of things with you. One of them being like, what's your thought process about the market? And you know, we at the time of this recording, yesterday it was announced with Bank of Canada what's happening with the rates. So I want to get your takes on that. I should actually shout out the live audience that we have today, who are part of our 30-hour in-person training. I call them our immersioners for Fitigu Academy, our training company for real estate agents. So how cool is that, though?
That's so
buddy,
cool.
Like, hey, you know what? I don't want to put the pressure on you today, Andrew, but I said your name. They're like, oh, who's the guest? You know, people were trying to feel me out, like, who's it going to be? What are we going to talk about?
Sure.
I say your name, and people are like, oh, I fucking know him. He does business here, and he does a team here. So really cool in that sense. But before we jump into, like, your thoughts on the market and stuff, you have, like, a pretty cool setup, like, in terms of your business with your team. You do the Niagara-on-the-Lake stuff, and then you're, like, in cottage country as well, right? Like, is it Muskoka?
Yeah, Muskoka. We have our flagship, which is Port Carling. Then we have a little satellite in Bracebridge as well.
So talk to me about the journey, man. Like, you're probably like the other 76,000 agents, including myself in the GTA, whatever it is now, 1.4, 1.5 million in North America. I have a funny feeling you didn't grow up saying you want to be a real estate agent.
No.
Yeah, exactly. No. And so talk me through that journey. Like, how did that, like, why real estate?
So growing up, realtors were like, again, not that there's anything wrong with this.
Well, we're allowed to say this stuff because we're agents.
But they're considered like, plumbers, electricians, realtors. Like, they just so happen.
Used car salesmen, then realtors.
Well, yeah. So realtors were just kind of somebody who facilitated the process of changing homes or getting into your first home. So it was never really top of my mind. Because I didn't know the actual potential of what realtors can actually do. And then I quickly learned that I also didn't know how much expense is. And so maybe that's why people didn't push themselves back in the day. And now it's like hyper competitive, which I love it, Mamba mentality or Mamba forever. So that's amazing. And so anyways, I was in a fairly serious sales role with LA Fitness. And if anybody here, I drop them on every podcast because that's built the foundation of my entire life.
Our boy Nikki over there, it wasn't LA Fitness. Nikki, what was it?
So I did about 8 months of Good Life, and then I worked at a boutique gym for about 5 years.
See, there you go.
Yeah, no, huge part of who I am today.
Good Life has a similar culture because we were battling with each other. But I realized fast that if I'm going to be putting in this amount of work, 6 days a week, 12 hours a day for $150K? No. So I had to think to myself, what can net me the most for, and again, this is me just being naive, what can net me the most by doing the same amount of work that I'm kind of doing right now? And what I thought was, if obviously I knew it would be a little bit harder to get the same numbers from a gym membership for selling a house. But man, I didn't actually realize how hard it was to get that one house. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what triggered it, is that I needed a vehicle to start netting way more money. And I knew that I was working in a space that had no ceiling, right? That's what they tell you.
Yeah.
Make your 6 figures,
And you'd be your own boss.
But at the same time, it was virtually impossible to get the amount of income that I wanted to get at LA Fitness, and so that's what prompted.
How many years ago was this now?
This is my 7th year.
This is your 7th year. So you started as a solo agent?
Oh yeah.
Okay. And did you make the decision to join a team, not join a team? What did you do?
No, I didn't join a team. Had I, started in the biz now, look, my first year was unbelievable. I think I did like 17 sales. I think I did like 120,000. It was a good year. I got a lot of referrals in my first year, and we could go into that later too if you want.
Sure.
But had I, know what I know now, I 100% would have started on a top producing team.
Why?
There's the difference. So the top producing teams, okay, you might come in as somewhat of a number versus like a 2 or 3 team, and maybe you're involved as like a partner or whatever. But if you're not selling, who the hell cares? What does it matter? So the top producing teams are the ones that have the systems in place. If they did not have the systems in place, they would not be a top producing team. I'm telling you right now, the amount of business, the amount of risk it takes to be a top producing leader is absolutely insane. So if you don't have your shit together, there is no way that your team, this new realtor, this veteran realtor, there's no way that they're going to be making deals. So if I had to redo it again, I'm calling Rob Golfi. I'm calling you guys. I'm calling the Fine Estates team. There's a plug. And then I'd be joining their team.
I want to talk about getting your shit together and what that actually means to you. But before I get into that, I mean, from my perspective, I like what you said when it comes to joining a top producing team, not only because they have their systems and processes together, which is 100% bang on, but I also like it for newer agents as well, because you get that overflow, right? You get the overflow of business where you generally know with top producing teams, you have either individual agents on that team or the team leader who probably doesn't want to do the leases right now. Right? Like the renting out the basement apartment or the condo, or maybe doesn't want to do the $480,000 home in some of the cities or towns where you can actually pick up on that business. Now I understand doing a rental deal is like, well, shit, man, I'm gonna make fucking half a month's rent. It's gonna be $1,800, $1,500, whatever it's gonna be. But you and I know that doing a rental deal, it's almost like identical to doing a buy and a sell. Right? You get paid a lot less, but at least you're still getting people to get that. Like you're influencing people ethically to authorize a contract.
Well, even still, okay, sure. That's the value, how you see it. And we talked about this on my pod, actually. So I know you understand the second value that I'm getting into, but the majority of people see that value. Okay, I'm meeting a tenant. I'm creating a lease agreement. Shit, this sucks. It's taking me forever. It's more paperwork. Hey, but at least I'm getting $1,500 from it. What I see, and what a lot of realtors don't see off the bat, is that I see somebody that I can educate over the next 12 months, introduce them to my mortgage broker, have my mortgage broker consistently check in on their credit. Renters, there's a lot of myths out there about why a renter can't actually turn into a buyer, and I want to be there to help squash that myth. So you see a paycheck, I see a long-lasting relationship, because you don't get in the business to get out of the business in 12 months. You got in the business to create a career for yourself. So when they're ready to buy, there you go. And if you look at the business that way, it starts becoming this cyclical, almost well-oiled machine. I'm sure if you had Nick on here the last podcast, he probably said, "You got to look under the hood, bro. It's there. Is it a well-oiled machine?"
That's a great fucking imitation of it. My man started doing push-ups before he started the podcast, man. Like to get his blood flowing, he was doing push-ups here. The team was like, "What the heck's going on?"
I've known Nick for such a short period of time.
I love his outfit,
but he's already a massive influence in my life. So, and he's right. And it's like, you have to set up this business so that it is working for you. You focus on new leads. That's your number one job as a realtor, is focus on new business. That nothing else.
Guys, does that sound familiar to the live audience? Of like,
right? Yeah, we have a live audience today.
Yeah,
and so
and you know Andrew's like a pro at this. Eh, my team will catch on this in 2 seconds. See how every time he talks, he knows to look over at that camera. My man's a fucking pro. He's fucking awesome.
I even said that to him. I'm like, if I'm looking at that camera, there's your cut mark.
Yeah, 100%. We know what we're doing here. I love that shit. You said get your shit together.
Yeah.
That's going to mean, you know, a thousand million things to every single person. But what does it mean to you? What does it mean to you? And how could that translate to somebody who's watching and listening right now in our business?
Yeah. So the difference between a top ranking realtor and the top realtor is that top ranking realtor in their first year or two, and again, I'm not making assumptions, I'm basing it based on my own experience, is that, okay, you do your 15 deals, but you're always chasing the deal. Where a top, like the actual top 0.1%, whatever, they're not chasing the deal. They've built the systems in place that machine is running, that deals are coming to them. Of course, there's conversions and lead generation, obviously, but if you don't have that back-end support, and that, you know, wheel keeps spinning and bringing that pipeline up to capacity, then really you're just chasing the deal, and that's the biggest threshold. And that's how because I did very well my first 2 years, but I didn't go to the next level without that back end.
And so, what was that back end in that? You know, like now for the last 5 years of data that you have after the first 2 years, what was that? What were the things that you put into place, those systems and processes that kind of got you to the next level?
So first things first is I implemented a very aggressive, I wouldn't call it a follow-up, I'd call it a client care service.
What is follow-up? What is that? Like, is that what people do in this business?
Yeah, I know. Just one phone call, and if they don't answer, hey, I'm on to the next. No. Yeah. So the client care follow-ups and the database nurturing was something that was very important. And look, I didn't go crazy. There's some realtors that, you know, like, call their clients a little too much, or they don't know what to say, or it's kind of an annoyance. They're like, oh yeah, good to hear from you again.
Do you want to buy or sell? Do you want to buy or sell today?
So for me, it just started very fucking simple. It was their birthday. They got a Tim's card, handwritten note. That was it.
That's it.
And then after I, you know, started building up my finances, my capital, I started having appreciation events. From there, you know, we added a second appreciation event, one in the summer and one in the winter.
And what do you do in the summer? Is it like a barbecue?
So our family, you know, I'm kind of blessed not only with my wife and our family, but her father has a winery.
Okay.
So we still have to pay to be there, of course. You know, I'm not a cheap guy, but and that's not cheap either. But we have our winery, we have a wood oven pizza, we have live music, we have goodie bags. I just wrote a book with my dad, so we'll be giving that book out.
Congratulations!
Yeah, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
What's the book about? We'll come back to what we were just talking
Niagara.
about.
A wine lover's guide.
Oh, that's pretty simple.
So we went to 75 wineries, interviewed the winemakers, got their winemaker's choice, and now we packaged it up into a beautiful guide. And so there's another example of the client service, because if you send me a referral to Niagara, which is 90% of my business, by the way, you're probably sending me somebody who's always loved Niagara on the Lake, heard about it, maybe got married there. They know that, okay, they know that there's things to do, but they haven't immersed themselves in the lifestyle yet. So that's how I convert. And when I'm saying I don't convert a sale, I convert a friend. I convert a relationship. And so they rely on me to be like, okay, go to this winery. If you're feeling fancy, go to this restaurant. If you're feeling casual, you got your golf shorts on, go to this restaurant. And so that's part of the experience. And now I get to elevate that with this book. But yeah, so the event, it's very fun. Leave your wallet at home, bring your kids, bring your family, bring your friends. Like last year we had 140 people come. This year we have almost 200 already RSVP'd. So thank God the winery is big enough. And then in the winter, we did a free skate on Family Day. The town, I said a private party. The town mistook that and thought I said public party. So the town shared it. Come to the hockey arena. Thank God we have 2 arenas, because we had to open it up. 500 people came. But guess what?
What a good problem to have.
Right. But you know what we did? We got 500 names and emails, so we could invite them to the next party. So client follow-ups and services, it doesn't have to be, you know, this you don't have to overthink it. It's something simple as happy birthday, here's your card, we'll see you at the client party.
Now, do you add, and this is more from a selfish perspective, I'm asking this question, like, do you add like educational events to that? Do you add like a phone call that is inviting them to the winery and or the holiday kind of the skating stuff? Is that part of it or no?
Great question. So I think, was it you that came on the pod, said you do 2 newsletters or 2 emails a month?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we do one, and it's usually a mix of the past events for the month or the last couple, whenever they are. We try to do them every 30 months, but it's a little crazy out there. So we do that, and it's got it's got market stats. It's got click to find the new value of your home. We don't pressure them at all. Our second stage is to email, like a 3-sentence email. Hey, just to keep you updated, the home value in your area is $500,000. Bye. And then, our events, we had one property away. So you're always one more property away from paying off your mortgage. We bring in a mortgage broker for that. And then we do, we have an interior designer coming in a couple of months.
And so that first one with the mortgage broker, from what your tagline is, it seems like it's targeted to investors.
Future investors.
I like that.
Investors.
Go deep on that, because that's what these guys are learning.
Investors,
I'm huge on that. So
investors already know. They don't need you to tell them that you can pull equity out from your house. But the average person who's got a lot of equity in their home, or maybe they're looking to start growing exponentially, they're a young family and they didn't realize that, okay, I could actually pull money out of my house, buy the next house, put a renter in there, or, because the rates are a little bit higher now, maybe you find something a little more distressed and add some serious value, because right now is the time to buy and find the deal. And then you use that money and, you lock in for maybe 2 years. I used to say variables. I just be very careful with how I educate people on anything mortgages. I leave that to the professionals. But if it were me, I'd be right now, if I was buying, I'd do a 2-year fixed. And then I'd, refinance and flip that money into another property. I used that method in 2020. I bought, 3 properties using that. And then by the next year, my one property had raised in value almost $1 million.
Is that passive, like appreciation?
Or that was just appreciation.
Okay.
And that was obviously right place, right time. However, if I didn't try, I would have never got that. Is the only point. Whether it's up $1,000, you're still winning.
Are you like, is your thesis in and around investing, like buying and holding? Is that your game?
I buy and hold.
Yeah, that's me too.
Unless there's a better opportunity, and I need to sell that property in order to get that better opportunity, then I will.
Yeah.
And I'll break that down. So I had I bought a 4-plex. It was the perfect setup. It looks like an actual building. Unit, stairs, unit. Perfect, right? Bought it for $540, sold it for $925 12 months later.
Okay.
The only reason why is because, you'd be stupid not to do that deal. But then I bought an 8-unit in Muskoka.
Got it.
Right? So if it's a move up, or it's a better location, or now you're moving into a mixed use, and that's just a personal preference, it was a no-brainer.
So let's talk a little bit about cottage country. What's going on there, man? Like, I know...
Yeah.
Negative 10%. You know what I mean?
The biggest,
when it comes to like all that stuff in Muskoka, I trust guys like you when it comes to those, because you're a market expert. Like you're when it comes to that location. What's happening?
Yeah. So there's this stat going around right now. I heard it on Global News. I listen to Talk 640 every day, by the way. I think it was yesterday that they had brought this up, and they said there was a 60% drop in cottage value. But here's the but, and it's a big fucking but. That was all Ontario. So they used an example from Kenora. I'm like, Kenora?
Where the fuck is Kenora?
They bought for.
Where is Kenora?
It's like the last town on your way out of Ontario.
Okay.
It literally takes you 2 days to drive there.
Got it.
All right. So the guy bought for $800,000, and it's now worth $370,000, and that's the example they used. I'm like, what? It's not cottage country. That's like, I might as well be Iceland. What are you talking about? But so a more centralized look in the Muskoka area. If I remember correctly, it was about a 30% drop but that's like in total volume. So it's not necessarily value. But if you're looking at towns like Parry Sound and Carling, they're up. So it's like Toronto to an extent, where this street is worth X, That street's worth Y. That one's worth A. This one's worth B. And it's the same thing in cottage country, and it varies by lake.
Yeah.
It varies by township. Each township has their own quirks, what you're allowed to do. But there's a lot of really cool opportunities up there right now. Right now, people are thinking, well, hey, man, rates just went up again. What do we got, 7%? And now I got to put 50% down on a cottage, because it's very rare that you can find anything about at under 40, by the way, to put down. So who's buying? Well, I'll tell you, the smart people, the people with larger down payments, more equity in their home, or all cash, because right now, grab your cottage, grab your vacation homes, because they're going to be at the lowest they've been in the last couple of years.
You know, as a real estate agent and as an investor, and I'd like to get your take on this, but you kind of mentioned it anyways, is that when you see markets kind of what we're going to be going through in the next, call it 12, 16, 18, 24 months, and you see these dips and you see people getting scared, this is where compelling buying opportunities start to pop up. You know, I saw this probably September 2020, October 2020, downtown Toronto. You could literally shoot a cannon through it. Nobody was going to work, obviously because of the lockdown. But I was yelling from the rooftops, Andrew, saying like, this is the fucking time. Go buy there now, because it just went on sale, right? Like we see it all the time when there's a sale at Holt Renfrew. People leave work. People like they you know, it doesn't matter what time on the weekend, they'll go to save 10% off of some type of shirt or whatever, or a pair of shoes.
Absolutely.
And then, but when real estate goes on sale, people don't see it like that, right? And so, you mentioned Muskoka, you're starting to see some compelling opportunities. What about on the Niagara on the Lake side? Like I have a lot of clients that, not necessarily Niagara on the Lake, but kind of Niagara region, they're all into the multiplexes in that area.
Yeah.
Like, what's your take on that?
So Niagara on the Lake specifically, they're always in their own little bubble. So there's really not too much that can happen to that market. It's kind of like an Oakville, where if you ever see it dip, it's not dipping 20%, that's for sure. If you ever see it grow like it did in COVID, okay, that increased pretty high, but it wasn't, you didn't look at this house and be like, that's $2 million? You know, like you did in Niagara Falls, St. Catharines. That's $1 million. That was like 500 last year. Where Niagara, you're like, Niagara on the Lake.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, no, it's the biggest misconception I feel that realtors have. And, you know, it's all about, hey, man, what are we going to do? It's going to be a slow market. It's going to be a bad market. I mean, I honestly don't see good markets or bad markets. It's just the way you've adjusted your thinking. So, okay, what is a good market then? What is a good market? Oh, the sellers, we sell their houses. Are you a listing agent? Well, no. I mean, I did a couple listings last year. So what does it matter to you? Okay, and then now it's very slow. Okay, yeah, but, you know, man, it's going to take forever to, you know, sell this house. Okay, great. You're in your first year. Are you a listing agent? Well, no. So why the hell are you focused on that? Where's your buyers? This is a great opportunity for somebody to buy. So where are they? And so once you stop looking at, I look at the real estate market as, you know, you like basketball, right?
I love Phil. You see all the Kobe stuff around here, man? Yeah.
4 quarters, right?
Yeah.
So I look at real estate like that. And either the other team's winning and you got to go on the offensive to push. Maybe that's the third period. Maybe that's the fourth. See, I'm a hockey guy, so I say period, right?
It's all good. I get hockey too, man.
And so,
don't let the Indian fool you. I get hockey too. I get hockey too. Don't worry about that.
Or maybe you're up.
Yeah.
And you're a little more on the defensive side, trying to block those shots, make sure that no other points go in, and, you know, protect your winning.
I love that, like that thought process about offense and defense, because now is a time to play a little bit of defense. That doesn't mean like go full 100% into defensive mode, but let's be very smart. You got some cash, put it aside.
Yep.
You are gonna, you know, your commission checks as a real estate agent right now are not going to be flowing as much as they possibly were in the last 2, 3, 4 years. It's black and white numbers. Sales have gone down. They have gone down.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you can't play offense. And what I do from an offensive perspective is getting on the phones. I mean, like I could put anything on this fucking set. It's mine. But I always have this next to me, you know, just to remind people the best exercise for salespeople is this: picking up the phone and just calling people. And I know yours might be like through events, but like you know, you got that charisma, you got that that it factor for sure. It's very easy to tell the first time we met each other. But what advice would you give to salespeople, realtors, a year in, 10 years in? I mean, we see with the vets as well, to get more referrals, because you're getting a lot. You got a lot of referrals at the start, and I know a lot of your business. I mean, is it safe to say maybe like 70%, 80% is referral based right now?
90%.
Fuck.
But it's agent-to-agent referrals.
Yeah.
So the agent.
But that's a really cool niche. Talk about that, man.
So agent-to-agent referrals is this really cool, what do you call it? Really cool thing in real estate that if you have a buyer that you don't want to service because you feel like, hell, I'm not driving 3 hours. I'm not driving through the city of Toronto just to get out and drive to Niagara. Or, hey, you know what? I really know nothing about Niagara. I know nothing about waterfront in Muskoka. I think that somebody would be best suited to service my clients. That's what a real estate referral is, agent to agent, and a lot of them go to me. And the reason why is because the way you're trained as a salesperson, like what you do with your team, the way you're trained to follow up, answer the phone quickly, I have that same mentality, but with agents. So you're always taught, provide value. You know, if you don't know, find out. Ask the 5 W's, all of that. Everything from the basic foundations of a sales professional, I implement that with agents. No other agent does that. No other agent is going to... I was on Simeon's podcast. I just put out that video, and it just went basically viral, 20K, I mean. And one of the aspects is that I always answer my phone. I don't care what the number says. Somebody messaged me like, what if it's like a 339 area code? I'm like, great. What is this? What if it says Sarasota? Perfect. I know people in Sarasota. I can sell them a house there. 80% of the time it's a spam call, but the rest of the 20%, it's another agent or it's a buyer or a seller.
Now, when you're doing these referrals, are you going outbound, or is it now just kind of inbound? Like people know you as the Niagara on the Lake guy.
Yeah. Most likely, but I still make a conscious effort that if I am talking to somebody, it'd be like, man, honestly, thank you for adding me to Instagram. I appreciate the opportunity to network with you. Niagara, Muskoka, I've got your back. Now,
we've touched on the two out of the three things that I think agents have to get on top of in a thriving market, in a changing market, which is events, phone calls, and then the last being content is what I always like to touch on. In your content game, I like to think I'm quite consistent. I like to think that I'm pretty good at it. But
you are,
and I appreciate that. But what you're up to on the content, like where did that all start from, and what are you seeing? Like, I'm gonna ask you the questions. So first, tell me like where it all kind of came about and how you got started. Yeah. Tell me about your process as well. Like, are you a content batcher, or are you somebody who just like off the cuff does your thing?
Yeah, certainly off the cuff.
Yeah.
But if I could get real honest, which I don't know if I've ever said this on the podcast before, maybe, but it all started because I'm a show off.
Talk to me.
Honestly, I always did skateboard videos when I was a kid. I would literally, if you guys were all watching me, which you are, I'd be like, whoa, watch this.
Yeah.
I got this, watch this. And I'd like do a kickflip and I'd fuck it up and I wouldn't, no, watch again. And then I became the front man of a band. Okay. For 12 years of my life, we were signed by Class 21 Records here, which was an offshoot of Universal. I was the front man. People needed to see me. I needed to see them. I needed them to sing the lyrics back to me. And then when I got into real estate, I just took that attitude and put it towards content. And you know what? It was Simeon's podcast. I had shared it. And it was like, I'm not afraid to go stand on a corner. Like at LA Fitness, I was at a grocery store. Hey, those bananas look pretty ripe. How do you are you health conscious?
Spark up a conversation.
Are you focusing on your health and fitness right now?
Yeah.
And I don't do that anymore. I just don't have time for it. But that was kind of this. Well, I shared it in one of my old realtors from Royal LePage, because I used to start off with Royal LePage. Was like, Andrew, I still remember when I first met you. You were standing in Toronto Maple Leaf boxers in the boardroom with a dress shirt and a cup of coffee and like 4 guys filming you. And all the Royal LePage agents, they were a little older at the time, were like, what the hell is this guy doing?
But you got their attention.
But I got their attention. That video blew up to 70,000 views. I didn't even know that was possible on Facebook in 2016. And it steamrolled from there. Other realtors were like, what the hell did I just watch? And how can I connect with this guy? Because it was something similar that you said on my podcast. Once you start doing that, especially at this time in the real estate game, realtors were reaching out to me. How did you do that? Who did you hire? What gear are you using? And I'm just like, I just answered them and I gave them information. And that's kind of just how it started.
And so and then the last question I want to ask around content was, what's the ROI been? Because most people, like for me, it's almost a pet peeve, getting around that question, or getting asked that question, sorry. But I still like to ask because I want to get your take on it, right? So what has the ROI been for you?
It's, in my mind, 100%.
Yeah.
In my mind, 100%. Phone's over here. But it's okay. It's all good.
Okay.
So when I was waiting for you guys to come in, I was just going through my phone. I've been waiting for this email. Some might say all my life, but we've just finally locked in, a guest appearance on an HGTV show.
Fucking awesome.
And I've been working on that forever, man, forever. And they didn't even, because I know a couple people that have been featured on the show before. I know, they had to go through the Zoom process, all that stuff. And all I did was send them my Instagram. And that was enough. That was enough because everything is videos.
Yeah.
So, it's just, how do you measure that? Honestly, it's a massive part of my business. We're now number 2 in Niagara. I'd say that's pretty much 100% ROI.
Yeah, look, I mean, and we've been talking some sports as well, but like the question I always kind of throw back at somebody is like, what's the ROI of the hockey puck for Sidney Crosby? I don't know, billions upon billions of dollars now. Like
$8.7 million in his first year. Yeah,
there you go. Right. Like for me, it's like nothing. Right. And so what I've come to realize what content has done for my business is open up so many doors. But what I like about it from a salesperson's perspective is that anybody who comes and meets with me or gives me a call or sends me an email or sends me a DM, I got some leverage now. Because if they saw the content, they had to have got to me some way, somehow, through a video, some type of podcast like this, being on yours, my blog. They've already made the decision. All right, there's something I like about this guy. I want to get to know a little bit more. And then for the millions upon millions upon millions of people who haven't reached out to me, out of which I just know like, oh, that's awesome. Like I love it because they're not wasting my time anymore. Right? Now, what's your process on actually shooting content though? Like, you said you're not really a batch content guy. Like it's not something that you do on Wednesdays at noon or something.
Correct. So if you go through all of my content, it's, 10% of it is my own podcast. Maybe 40% is other people's podcasts. And then what does that bring us to? 50? And then the other 50 is like whatever I'm showing up. But yeah, of course it's 50.
You're a fucking 3-hour drive in, buddy. Don't worry.
Math is not my thing. But then the rest is just, my listing videos, speaking, things that I'm already doing on a day-to-day basis. So I don't batch the content either. I book appointments, one podcast interview, usually once every 2 weeks. And then the rest of my time is filled up with meeting people like you on your podcast. And then we cut all that up. I do a lot of speaking. We cut all that up. And that's all my content.
Yeah.
I did, like I used to, sit for maybe 2 or 3 hours and just batch a whole bunch of content. My problem is that I didn't want to lose my personal touch of not posting on my Instagram. And then, they'd send me all my batch content and I just didn't, it was a systems issue and I just didn't want to deal with it. So I didn't have the systems in place to effectively post all these videos. So now I'm just doing it as they come.
I like that. Now,
Yeah.
where's your headspace at around and execution at around the others?
And only because I didn't need it.
Meaning?
I have people like you and your team who are cutting them up for me and sending them to
and
me.
then we
You know
just
what I mean?
collaborate on you. Got it.
But
I get
for
what
the
you do.
newer realtors out there or anybody in our studio audience today is that you have to do it. You have to do it. So batch that content, come up with as many different contents as possible, or topics as possible. If you can't think of any, have the person who's filming just ask you a couple of random questions and then just start spitting.
Or even just going right into ChatGPT and type in, I'm a real estate agent based out of Toronto and I want to start producing content for my investor database, my home sellers, my home buyers, and give me 57 ideas. And you know,
some people, especially the newer realtors, they don't have the confidence yet.
Yeah.
So they're searching these topics, but they're like, oh, fuck, what does that actually mean? And how can I present that effectively? So all I'm saying is that if you're struggling with that, then just have people ask you questions. And what would you do if that person was an actual buyer or seller? Are you like, first time home buyer credit. Oh man, right. So what about Yorkville's market right now? Is that
you know what it is, Andrew? I think once the camera goes on, that's what happens because but all these guys are answering questions.
That goes away.
You know what I'm saying?
Don't
They're answering questions about what the fuck is the incentive for a first time home buyer.
Boom.
What is the closing cost for a lawyer? They're answering the questions. They're actually answering them on the phones.
Yeah.
But the second that camera goes on, something weird happens.
You just got to do, the more you show up, the more you do it. Like, I don't know if you guys are all into scripting and all that stuff, but the more, what is it? Average people practice until they get it right. Winners practice until they can't get it wrong.
I've never heard that. That's a new one.
Really?
Say that again.
Oh, shit. No. So average people practice until they get it right. Winners, true winners, practice until they can't get it wrong.
That actually sounds very Mamba mentality.
I'm pretty sure Kobe said it.
I'm sure that came from him because he was insane.
I know, man. It's
about
unreal.
That. Like
Absolutely.
he was 1,000 shots after a game.
Yeah.
And so he made sure that he got into a place where he just couldn't get it wrong. Hence why I think I could be wrong. He might be number 2. And it might be Jordan number 1 that has hit the most game-winning shots.
Yeah.
When their team is down.
Right.
Because he always put himself in that position. Right.
Of course.
What else are you excited about, man? This book is out.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Congrats. You're kicking ass with content. Oh, I had a question for you, and then you cut me off. You being a host yourself. In terms of your headspace on the other pieces of like the other platforms, where are you at, like with TikTok and YouTube and all that kind of stuff? You obviously podcast is huge, love it. Instagram is you're doing your thing, but where's your headspace at with the other stuff, man?
Wow. So TikTok had some really early success with it a few years ago. A couple of videos, 200K, 160K, 50K, and then now my videos get like 200 views. And so I just stopped because what I realized is that TikTok wants to compete so bad and Instagram wants to compete so bad that if you're not, it knows when you're just repurposing content, right? So it wants you to use their editor, use their video effects, use their captions.
Natively put it in is what they're wanting.
Correct. And Instagram does to a degree as well. That's why I always try to add something, right? But no, so I don't focus on TikTok. I just post my videos just to keep it going. I don't focus on it. YouTube, I had Tom's Story on the podcast, and Tom and I were like,
big shout out to
he's
Tom.
Like, you're doing it, and I'm checking in with you. And so I did it. I filmed it. We started, and we had some really good videos. And I'm just like, man, I can't do this because I'm a firm believer with everything I'm doing that if I want to stay up to date on things like content or client follow-ups, or it's got to be something that easily fits into what I'm doing.
What were the YouTube videos about? Because Tom does an amazing job. Had him on the pod a couple of months ago or something. He's actually from my office.
Yeah.
Awesome guy. He does fantastic YouTube videos about market analysis, all that.
yeah.
Was that what he was telling you to do?
Basically,
because my headspace with you, brother, it went to like no brainer, being kind of the digital mayor of Niagara-on-the-Lake and just showcasing all these things about Niagara-on-the-Lake.
Yeah. But no, I do that.
Oh, you do that already then?
Yeah.
And you throw that up on YouTube as well, those videos? Okay, good.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
we're that was a fucking no-brainer for you.
No, we're posting on YouTube 1 to 3 times a day.
Okay, got it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's just not like an absolute targeted focus of mine. Facebook, I still have a ton of success with. A ton. I use it as a larger Twitter. I have a Twitter account. No, I'm not getting into that war zone.
What about
I
Threads?
started Threads too, and it's just another app that I'm just gonna lose focus on.
Yeah,
I
I was speaking with Michelle earlier, walking here. I said,
if Twitter wasn't around, I would use it.
Right.
But
I never really got deep with Twitter.
Neither did I.
But I'm going deep
Too many
with
people
Threads.
bitching, and
Threads has been a very positive place though so far.
Yeah, and then the people that are migrating from the Elon exodus,
yes,
they're going to come to Threads and bring their bullshit with them. So no, I want to see you vulnerable. Yeah. I want to see your lows, but I don't want to see you bitch.
Yeah, no complaining.
You know what I'm saying? No complaining. And that's the biggest thing. So yeah, my focus is on Facebook and Instagram still.
And now jumping over to your team, what's your team outfit look like now? In terms of leadership team and agents. I don't know too much about that.
So the way I've designed it is that we have a director of ops, we have our director of marketing and transactions, client care. It's kind of like a combined role. We have our VP of sales, who's in control of all the sales management aspects of the team, recruiting, growing, all that stuff. And then we have 8 agents. So we have a total of 12. We have 4 in Muskoka. And then I have... The way I've set it up is that I also have an office, right? So we have solo agents in there as well. And we're working on this really massive, and I say massive, kind of implementation of what I see. And I'm not like kind of stealing this idea from you, but you know, you definitely...
And steal all the ideas from you, buddy. But it's not ripping us off if we're telling you to do it.
But you definitely, opened my mind to a few different avenues. So, I mean, my idea and what we're kind of working on building right now is what I want is I want to be able to help, because Revel, our brokerage, is a huge advocate for new realtors, where most brokerages are like, I don't really want to bring on all these new realtors. It's going to take me blah, blah, blah. But we have Revel Ed, we have mentorships, and that's at the Revel level. Now, for the Fine Estates team in my offices, what I want to be able to do is bring in those people that are still in courses, because Revel does that as well. So I'm learning from them a little bit. But I also want to bring in new realtors. I want to have... let's call it the Fine Estates Team Academy, something like that, right? Where they have to do first 12 months, Revel Ed, my curriculum, and they need to at least get, they also get a mentor, one time a month coach with me as well, but they also need to do 8 to 10 deals in their first year in order to graduate to the Fine Estates team, to be a core member.
Got it.
If they don't hit that, we'll find some gray areas for them, but they're still in that kind of transitional period where they have to learn the scripts. And I'm not a big script guy, but they have to know the foundationals, the 5 W's, right? And they have to prove to me that the results driven. And if not, and if it's not what they want, God bless you, that's fine. We have a third category, which is a true solo agent out of our office. And we'll see them once a month at the brokerage meetings.
And self-sufficient, they do their thing. And that's kind of our mixture.
Something for everybody.
Like our team of 60, I think we're at Mario Lemieux right now. I think we're at 66.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Great number. I'm going to say about 20 of them are probably about self-sufficient right now, right? And the other 40 are kind of working there, which is kind of right around the 80-20 rule anyways, so right around there. And you mentioned something kind of like they graduate, it's more linear. And with our Fitigu Academy, we were very close. And I don't think we're necessarily 100% right or wrong. I think it's just the path that we chose for the academy. So kind of maybe give you my 2 cents on what you're thinking. We were originally going to go down the path. We were actually going to be launching it probably 3 weeks before we did, a month before we did, because we were going to go down the path of more of a linear path, which is you got to do this, and then you go Then it's the next step and the next step. Again, I don't think it's wrong or if it's right or wrong. We decided, though, to do more of a 360 kind of approach, because what I came to realize through the last 11 months that people took our 30-hour in-person training is that, man, I was bumping into agents, Andrew, that came to our training that they've been in the business for 15 years. Yeah. They don't have a fucking CRM.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You know like,
that's
or
a big,
if they do,
that's a big aspect.
They like, no, like, they never even sent a mass email ever. Ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
I've
oh,
worked
shit.
with people like that.
You know this, right? And I was like, oh, okay. You know, I'm talking to my partner, Laura, and that, like, my business partner there, and I'm saying, Elto, I don't know if I can build something that's linear, because I'm talking to people who are 15 years in the business, but they're doing their 20 deals a year. So they're, flirting around their 400 to 500,000 a year. They're bumping into people and doing business, which is great. But I think we need to be able to train, I apologize, on setting up your CRM, making phone calls, doing events and content. Oh shit. And doing an offer. You know what I mean? It's more 360.
Yeah. And so, that's what we're doing on our team currently.
Yes.
So all the people that have proven results, they come, based on how I feel about them, they come to the team almost immediately. And then we are working on that kind of stuff every day.
Got it.
Yeah.
Leadership style. I want to kind of close off on that, because it's my favorite kind of phase, I guess, I'm in my life right now, just kind of watching other people grow. I'm a very, it's my podcast, so I'm allowed to say whatever I want to say. I'm a very touchy-feely kind of guy, but not really touchy-feely. But I like to really spend time with people. That's my style. I don't have a computer. I haven't used one in 7-8 years, so I'm definitely not micromanaging my guys and gals on my team. I'm like, let me bounce around to every little department, touch base. I have handshakes with everyone on my core team, not all my 6 agents. And I tell you that because for me, the way that they kind of shake their hands with me in the morning, I kind of know. I kind of know what happened the day before or what they might be going through. And so I know I can push a little bit more, or I can't push. Like, fuck, I better stay away from Tyler today, from the perspective of giving him too much. That's kind of my style. Again, not to say it's the right way to do it.
I understand.
It just, I'm self-aware. It's who I am, right? KYS is right behind me, and which means know yourself, right? And so for me, that's what my thought process is. What's kind of your style and what's been working well for you? And then maybe if you can just touch on mistakes that you made so everyone else doesn't make those and hit their head against the wall.
Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest move I ever made was, so I have a team of all women, right?
All agents, all everything? Like
now
the agents are all women?
We have Max, Peter, Logan, and
they sound like
men.
men's names.
Those are men.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
You never know, though.
I'm just making sure.
So, team of women.
Okay.
Biggest mistake was using my already pre-existed leadership knowledge of running an aggressive American-style team of men.
In the personal trainings. In the gym.
In the membership side of things. See, we had women that worked for us, but anyways, majority men. And using that leadership style, which is like, no fucking whining, get the results, reasons are results. Look, if you need help, I'm here for you. Let's work together. Let's work through this. But if you're complaining, I don't even want to hear from it, and it's going to affect our relationship, and you're going to be out of lead rotation. I need solutions. And it wasn't necessarily working all that much. I'm not saying that we had ever had like some huge blow-ups or anything, but the production level wasn't there. So what I did was I hired our top producing realtor who gets it. She had buy-in. She needed a little work transitioning into that role for sure. But then now she was the mediator. She was the person that was actually managing the team of women. And it was the best thing I ever did. Production went up. I had to know that I had to have enough self-awareness that what I was doing isn't working. So I'm not the best leader for this typical situation for the day-to-day, and I come in once a week. I'm available by phone call and in-person meetings anytime they want, and that's how I kind of got over that. And now my leadership style is more focused on our VP and our director of ops.
I love that. So you kind of touch base with them and then let them kind of do their thing with the rest of the team, no micromanaging, and kind of stay away from it.
Yep,
But
absolutely.
I appreciate you being very, very vulnerable and kind of sharing that. Not a lot of people are comfortable with doing that, knowing like where you might have went wrong. B, I want to say to you, thank you, brother, for your time again.
Absolutely.
For driving in, you didn't even know that I was going to have a live audience.
No, but
I
that was
knew
awesome.
I knew I didn't need to tell you ahead of time that
Yeah,
you were going to be fine. I
absolutely.
didn't know about your skateboarding and all that kind of stuff, but I knew, I was like, if anyone's going to be okay with it, it's going to be my boy Andrew.
Absolutely.
Check this out. I want to do a lot more collaboration with you. I don't know what that's going to mean. I don't know how that's going to pan out. I'm very curious about once you get your academy started or your training or whatever you end up calling it, because I want to do things with you in the future, because I just like the vibe that you're on and the frequency that you give out, and I'm huge on that. And so thank you once again, brother. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Man,
Give you
that
one
was
of those.
great.
That's it.